This is JJ Humphrey. We're back on Elephant in the Room. I've got Bobby Cleveland with me today, and I got Andy Hutchinson, Chain, with me. It was Chain Hutchinson. And Andy is one of the most knowledgeable people I know in beef. And so we've got a huge issue going on with our beef production here in America. And so I called Andy. I think this is a very, very important conversation to have that a lot of people are not aware of. And Andy's got a guest with her. We were going to have Brad, but Brad's a little under the weather. We'll all pray for Brad. But Brad, Andy's got a special guest. So Andy, let me have you introduce your special guest.
Okay, my special guest is our pastor, John Paul. And he's not only a pastor, he's also owns a feed yard and a ranch, and he's an expert cattle person as well, and also horseman, and been in the industry for how long?
My whole life. We've never done nothing else.
We've never done anything else, and so we've gone to church here going on 4 years, and I've never had a pastor that I can pull in and ask him to be my sidekick on some of the issues. Probably, I don't know everything. I just know what I know, but he knows a component of it that I'm probably maybe am not quite as familiar with. So,
well, we were asking him about questions about is it okay cussing cow lot, and so he passed with flying colors. You know what I mean? So not only is he good expert. He's expert in the Lord, and he's expert in cattle, so he's got a double degree. So we'll definitely be very interested in what he's got to say. Hey guys, this is what I want to talk about today. So the president came out and he announced that they wanted to bring in Argentina beef, and what that did immediately was that sent shockwaves through the beef industry. And man, you had people out there upset. Lots of videos going on. But the big thing is, if you watch the market for cattle in the market industry, the thing just dropped. The cattle prices, which have been great for the ranchers, we finally have a period of time where ranchers are recouping some of their losses and are actually being able to stay afloat. And so then all of a sudden with this announcement, we saw cattle prices drop, panic in the market. And right now, a lot of the producers are really scared. So what's your thought on that? What do you think about both of you? I'm just going to throw questions out to both of you today. What do y'all think about what the president said on this?
Hey, JJ, before we do, we need to get her in the picture.
Hey, Andy, if you can move the camera to your left.
No, camera's good. Don't move it.
Okay, don't move. You're good. Okay.
Okay.
Are we in there?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
So that with what the first thing the president said was that in that short clip was that he wanted to lower beef prices, that he believed beef prices were too high, and simply by stating that, he effectively did that. And then as cattle producers and organizations in the beef industry got upset and went to the White House and made a lot of statements all over the board, the president doubled down and said that he was considering. He never said anything solid, but he did say that he was considering bringing in beef from Argentina, and that caused the market to fall a second time. So it effectively did exactly what he said. It did lower beef prices. There was panic in the market. Did it change anything? No, it didn't change anything. Matter of fact, we were already buying beef from Argentina.
Right.
And there wasn't 1 pound more beef on the market the day after he said it than there was the day before. It didn't change anything other than the fear factor, which effectively drove down the market. The truth of the matter is if we would quit talking about this in such a negative manner, the market would adjust itself and go right back to stable again. The thing that's making it unstable is all the chatter.
Right. But do you think that that's what the president intended to do? I mean, this guy knows when he speaks that
That's what
that's
we
going
were
to
discussing.
happen. I mean, the president wants to bring down the price of beef. Now, let me see.
that's not
Do
gonna
y'all
do it.
agree? Do you agree that the average consumer, Bob, do you think a steak is high right now? If you go buy a steak, you get a steak.
I wouldn't know. I can't afford to buy steak.
There you go. See, you're the average consumer. You can't even afford. Hey, he's still got his first dollar. That's why he won't get no steak. But guys, do you agree? Do you agree that beef may be a little high for the average consumer?
Can I tell you a story,
Yes.
JJ? Just yesterday, I bought a $6 cup of coffee, and when I was buying that $6 cup of coffee, in the window of that coffee shop, there was this sign, and the sign said, if you have oat milk, they're going to add $1 to the cost of it because of grocery prices. They're going to add $1 to the cost of coffee. And I got really curious how much the producer was getting out of his oats to make the price of that. And I'll tell you what I come up with. In that $6 cup of coffee, the producer actually has 9 cents in a gallon of oat milk. So to the producer, he received 9 cents out of a gallon of oat milk, which takes 14 ounces out of that to make one 16-ounce cup of coffee that costs $6. And the problem is the coffee shop guy has to pay $10 a gallon for that same oat milk that the producer got 9 cents. Somebody added water to it and turned it into oat milk and charged $10 a gallon. And so very similarly in the cattle industry, us out here as producers, we only making so much. We've got input costs, and it costs so much to get along, even with the prices as high as they are. One of the things that Brad Hutchinson said to me 2 weeks ago, I asked him about these cattle prices, and he said, you know what, for us producers, they ain't too high yet. And the truth of the matter is Americans are still buying hamburger at the same rate they always was. Steaks are high in the supermarket, but it doesn't have that much to do with us. It's because they believe that the consumer will pay it. It's a consumer-driven market. It doesn't have anything to do with the producers, really.
Well, and again, we were talking before we come on here. You know, I can remember when I was a young boy, my granddad, we'd sell locally. Now today I go to a bigger market, and I take more to a bigger market than I did as growing up as a young guy watching my granddad. My granddad would load up a bumper pull trailer, and he'd load up, it's 14-foot bumper pull trailer, load up full of calves, and he'd take them to town, and he'd make enough to get a vehicle. I mean, he could go down, buy a pickup off of that load if he wanted to. And today, for that same pickup, you're going to have to go get, even though we got these high prices, but you got to look at what's the cost of a pickup that's that trailer. And so a pickup today, $70,000, where when that load was going out way back here, you go buy a pickup for $3,000 or so.
That trailer load of calves will not buy a pickup today. No, sir.
Oh, if you loaded up a 14-foot trailer, hey, you wouldn't even be. You might go get the down payment. You'd get it down payment for a truck, and then
they say the average car today is $50,000.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's no comparison to what it was back then. So that same load of cows go, and then if you looked at the cost of feed, if you looked at the cost of land, if you looked at the cost of a tractor, equipment, all of these costs, what it costs you to produce that same pound of beef, guess what? They wanting a $2 pound of beef that costs $20 to grow it. And again, who can keep that up. Is that? I mean, that's really
That's-
where we're at, isn't it?
That's the nuts and bolts, and you know, and we also have a weird thing in our market too, is that for the producer that goes direct market, and I tried some of that, and during COVID, I could sell the dickens out of meat direct market, but as soon as the fear of COVID passed, the consumer would buy from Walmart quicker than they would me, just because it was convenient. Even though they could buy from me cheaper and it would be better, they would still buy at Walmart, and because they were already there. And so I agree with, even with the prices, they don't seem to be too high. If they were,
Quit.
the consumer would go back to the direct.
Right.
There's a lot of avenues where they could go direct market to with producers, but they choose to go to Walmart still.
Right.
Well, and we can make it easier to go to that direct market. But again, we had to fight the Ag Department. We had to fight the USDA.
Yeah,
we had to fight our own government to do that. One great example is we have a deal called Cool Country of Origin Labeling. Now, anything else, if you go buy a pair of scissors, it'll say made in China. Go buy a pair of shoes, hey, made in Taiwan or somewhere. But you go try to put a stamp on your beef that says this is American beef, and guess what? They don't want to allow that. And again, if the president wants to allow Argentina beef, I'm okay with that. We're exporting as much beef. I mean, if we got a shortage, why are we exporting? And we're exporting our good beef because they want American beef. We're importing, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I don't want to act like I know everything on this, but we're importing, Argentina and other countries' beef that are low quality beef. And then that's what you're getting at the market. You're getting a low quality beef, and we're sending much of our good beef overseas because these groups that you're talking about, and what we're talking about is 4 packers that control just about the entire market.
And that's the problem. That if we could fix the mandatory country of origin labeling, that would fix
let
a
the
lot.
consumers
And let the
do their own
consumer do
deciding.
that.
Yep.
As long as the consumer can distinguish between the product that the hardworking cattle producers here in the United States, it was born, raised, and harvested here in the United States. If they can get that truth out, we'll fix it all. Because they're going to pick our meat over what, if they knew the health standards that these other countries have, they're not comparable to us. We have the highest quality, highest safety standards in the United States. And what we've done is allow
In the world,
in the world. And
So
what we've done is we've allowed those 4 packers to take away our name and our identity, and then they bring in this foreign meat that's substandard and put a product of USA label on it. That's what's got us to where we're at today. And so,
Bob, would you want to add
furthermore,
something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you at Walmart and you had over here Argentina beef, hamburger meat, I'll just use hamburger meat, and then you had a made USA hamburger meat, and it's cheaper. I mean, higher than the Argentina. Excuse me, be higher than the Argentina meat. You think that the average consumer would go with the USA?
Let me answer that one.
well,
Let me answer that
you're
one.
already that's already happening.
Yeah, that's
you're
what
not
I was
getting
gonna
product
say.
of USA label.
Bob, in 2014, we had country of labeling. I think 2014 or so, we had country of origin labeling. The American producers' prices were up because the consumer was purchasing American beef.
Yep.
They were given the choice, even at a little higher price. They were overwhelming purchasing American beef. Obama come in and said it's not fair to NAFTA to have that unfair advantage. Wasn't nothing unfair about it. I mean, it's here's yours and here's mine. It's just the consumer knew which one was which. And Obama made them pull that off of that. And then I think it was in 2019, I tried to run a bill that said, okay, you don't have to, we can't label it on the package, but what we would label is we will label the counter. So we'll have on the counter, this is American beef, and the cattlemen's come in and shut that bill down. So again, I just
Well,
want to tell
they're for the
everyone
Packers.
that your lobbyists out there who are lobbying supposedly for you for all this, oftentimes are actually, that's the ones we're fighting, and oftentimes are doing right the opposite of what they should be to produce for the American producer and the American consumer. The American consumer has the right to know which one that
they want to keep that market open. They work for the global Packers. The NCBA absolutely works for the global Packers. There's no doubt about it. And so the state affiliates will always work against us. When we get to the Capitol and policy, they always work against us. They work for the corporate control and against independence. So
Yep, that's and if it didn't mean big money, they wouldn't be fighting against it anyhow, you know. And the lobbyists that are not out there fighting to get that country of origin labeling on there, the reason that because it pays better for them not to do that.
Well, now, Andy, you go all over. You're probably as many. You know, you're at an event today. You're always at an event somewhere. You're always in Washington or doing something, and you are probably one of the most outspoken and probably most involved in calling out these wrongful practices on these monopoly, middle people.
And that's just because I watched him do it. And that's the only reason I know what I know is that I was the Oklahoma Cattlewomen president for a couple of terms, and that put me on a national board. And that's been 2010 is when I started going to the meetings, and then I watched what was happening, or I wouldn't know what I know. And that's the only reason I know.
Well, I remember the first time, and I've told this several times. So one of the first times that the first time I met you was in Tishomingo, and y'all were down there at an event educating the public. We had Bullard, I forget, is it Bill Bullard?
Bill Bullard.
Yes. So Bill Bullard, very, very educated person talking on this. And I met Andy and Brad, and I told them that night, I said, hey, I'm not going to become a disciple yet. Basically, let me go and study this. And the next thing I know, I probably bothered Andy. She probably wants to turn my phone off because I'm calling her all the time. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And she would tell me, and I'd go study a little bit. And pretty soon I was a believer on what these four Packers and just this conglomerate of corporate, and not just four Packers. There's got to be government. Our ag department's got to be involved. There's a big involvement to take over our food industry. And it's not just beef. It's if you go look at pork, if you look at poultry, the corporations have already taken poultry over. They've already taken pork over, and they have a plan on taking beef over. Now, do you think I'm correct on that, right?
Yep. And it's incremental. It's like nobody pays. They don't know where their food comes from anyway. There's only like less than 2% of us doing what we do. So it's easy for them to come in and change policy and get people that are in the Capitol that'll listen to their side and won't listen to ours. And plus we didn't think we had a need to be at the Capitol. We didn't want to be I don't want to go up there. He doesn't want to go up there. Brad doesn't want to go up there.
I mean, you're trying to make a living.
And you thought you were in good hands with your groups, your ag groups. And when I found out you weren't, that's when I just started educating, because that's the only.
Yeah, it's crazy, that we end up there. We got the wolves voting on what to do with the sheep.
Yep.
Well, Andy, I mean, just so people understand what you just said, you have been at all levels over the cattlemen's, even as high as the national. You were on the board of the National Cattlemen. So this is not something where you come out and say, hey, they're against us because you were on that. That's what you were working
And I
towards.
started squealing along those years. I squealed. I would come home and I go, "Hey, we can't allow the World Wildlife Fund to use our checkoff dollar to impose policy that's going to be detrimental to us." And they wouldn't listen. But the reason they didn't listen is because everyone was getting a lot of people were getting a piece of that pie.
So let me explain that to our listeners, because unless you're beef related, you're not going to understand this. If you have a calf, a cow, whatever, every time you sell them, you're going to have to pay, what is it, $2 now?
Dollar a head.
$1 a head, and that dollar goes into a fund that at one time was a very good idea, because our beef had gotten down and we started advertising, get beef, go beef. And again, that helped, and probably at that time might not have been a bad idea, but now it's been hijacked, is what Andy's saying. So now these dollars that we're spending, we're spending these dollars. The cattle rancher is paying, and they're using our own money to go against us and to support organizations that are out to destroy us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what
that is insane.
For over 15,
and again,
20.
Andy, tell us about, I think what is the percentage of Argentina beef? So when we have the president come out and say, we're going to bring in Argentina beef, what percentage?
2.1%. 2.1% is what we looked up. It's not that. It's almost like a red herring, like look over here and don't look over here. They use that a lot, and it did cause a lot of damage. His speech caused a lot of damage. But if he'll be quiet,
or if we'll be quiet,
we'll be quiet, then it'll help. But in the scheme of things, we're the highest. We've had the highest cattle prices
in the history
of history.
Yes.
In the history.
When this,
but again, when we
JJ, on your picture here, is it jumping around? It's giving me a headache jumping around.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Bob. We can handle it.
Well, I mean, I'd like to know what it was, if we could keep it still.
Okay.
But I got a question for you, all of you. The last time you was on here, you're saying the same thing.
No, not the same thing, because president hadn't come out, and what the president did when
Argentina, that's the only thing he's done different, mentioning Argentina, but we're still saying we only have four what do you call them?
Packers.
Yeah, 4 Packers.
But
that's not a new problem.
No, it's
what had happened in COVID. We started. In fact, me and Bullard passed that bill. Me and Bullard passed a bill where you can process and you can sell it straight to the consumer. We can bypass these 4 Packers. We can sell straight to consumer. Then the last time that Andy was on here, we had tried to have me and Andy and several had come up with the plan to do an interim study at the Capitol. We were going to do an interim study at the Capitol, and they come in and said that if I didn't give half of my study to the cattlemen's, that I couldn't have my study. And I told them to kick rocks, and I went down the street and got another place, and we had that same interim study at another place, and we come up with the plan to do a compact with 7 or 8 other states that are beef producing states. And we were going to turn around and have a compact to where we recognized their inspections, they recognized our inspections, and we could sell beef in those, which directly sell, which would have been huge, because now that puts us back in control of our product. And that's the problem right now. If I have furniture, I decide what price I'm going to sell that for. If I have any product, I set the price. But guess what? The beef producer is one of the few that does not. You go into that sale barn and you may get shellacked, or you may come out super. It's just according to what the market does. So basically, you're playing the stock market, but you got all this money invested. And again, you may roll dice and be good. There's a lot of factors you can look into that. But what we're trying to do is stabilize that market and talking. And when President Trump come in we've got a pretty stable market, have had for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
A profitable market, profitable, stabilized market for the first time in a long time. And with one phrase, President, and I'm a Trump groupie. I think he saved our country. I'm not downing him, but with one statement, he busted that market. And now who knows what goes. And I agree. We need to be more positive, and we need to come out and be saying, look, what he said ain't correct because they're 2%. How is 2% opening that market? Now, correct me, they're already in the market, right? I mean, he ain't opening it. They're already selling.
They're already,
Right? What his statement changed absolutely nothing. Only thing that changed was perception. There's exact same amount of meat on the market today as there was yesterday, and 75 days from now there won't be one more pound of meat on the market because of his statement. That only thing that changed was public fear and that traumatized the market. And so if we could, the real message is that if beef prices are too high to the consumer, first of all, we need to let the consumer decide that. And they're still buying meat. Like Brad told me, he's like, it ain't too high yet. They're still buying it. And McDonald's is selling just as many hamburgers as they ever was. So if it's a consumer driven market, then high prices will take care of high prices.
Well, if he wants to address high prices, wouldn't the first place to address high prices be to look at monopolies and look at
that's the problem.
Sherman antitrust laws?
Yes,
So if you
enforce
look
those
at Sherman
two things.
antitrust laws saying you don't allow these poor people to corner the market and to absolutely control and purchase
do what they want.
Hold beef. All they've got to do is hold up production 1 or 2 days. And guess what? The demand goes up and the price goes up. Or they can flood the market. They flood the market and price goes down. I mean, these guys are the market, controlling the market. We are still controlling the product. And as long as the rancher controls the product, well, then we can actually take this back. But the day that they control the product, as they do in pork, as they do in poultry, guess what? It's harder to get back. I think we can get those markets back. But again, we got to get the regulations of the government.
They control the regulations as well.
Am I preaching right, preacher?
You are. I would like to make for you to in your, as you make statements, there's one more statement that needs made here, and I'd almost forgotten, but the truth of the matter is, if let's say for the sake of argument that beef is too high at the market level, but I'm going to tell you right now that beef produced in America that's too high at a market level, then that producer, his money goes to every place that we live. Those goes back to that community. But high priced beef that's imported is an entirely different problem. That money leaves the country, and none of that money helps us at all. It's like when fuel is too high, every one of us, if we're in a country that has people that are making money because of high priced fuel, then we get that blessing because that money goes into our communities. Beef the same way. But if that money's going to another country altogether, it don't help nobody.
Well, and I want to say, I want to back up on something Andy said earlier that I don't think a lot of people may have caught. I caught it when she said it. She said substandard. So they're producing a substandard catch or a substandard beef. And again, what that means for our listeners is, if you're here in America, there's a lot of medicines that I used to be able to give my cattle, New Floor, and I'm trying to think all the other medicines that I would, so if I have a sick calf out there, I got old dart gun. I drive around the pasture. That calf looked a little droopy. Boy, I just put the smoke on him and shoot him, and I doctor him without having to stress him out, bring him into the lot or anything else. And again, I was able to get that medicine and doctor that calf. Today, that's way more difficult. I got to go to a vet now to purchase all those medications, sign in. You can't give it before so long before you sell them. You can't get the medicines you used to. Aeromycin. I used to put aeromycin into all my cattle. So this time of the year, I would start generally late August all the way up till generally about January, according to what the weather does. But I would only feed, because usually I don't overgraze. I don't spray or stuff. I'm more of a organic natural. But I would feed those aeromycin into my salt meal. And again, it reduced a whole lot of issues, kept cattle from getting sick, I think. But guess what? You can't give aeromycin anymore. And I could go on with all the regulations that our USDA, our Ag Department, has just warred against the ranchers to put all these regulations. But here comes Argentina, here comes Mexico, here comes Australian, or all of these other countries.
20 plus countries, 20 different countries get the privilege to use our name.
And correct me if I'm wrong, some of those could actually feed manure. Some people feed manure to their cattle, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure.
I've seen it happen. And again, there's what you got to do. Where's their regulations? So they want to.
They don't have to follow them.
Yeah, they surely don't have USDA.
So that makes
you've got these substandard cattle coming in, being put on to American soil and being butchered, even though they just got off a boat or even they just got off a truck. They butcher them and they call them American beef. And if you go down to the border, they actually butcher them on the other side, drive them across and repackage them and call them American beef.
Yeah.
So,
and so this brings us to another point, that the mandatory radio frequency ID tagging that they're enforcing here upon us. If you just step back and look at, that's just a joke, because they don't have to do it.
right.
However, they're getting to bring their meat across, but they've enforced that. Like
So what people understand, a lot of people don't understand what Andy just said. The American Ag Department is trying to enforce a frequency ID tag on cattle at a certain weight. So like your stocker cattle, and they want to be able to track that calf all the way through. Now, it ain't going to just be there. They got to go to put it on everything so that they can track every cattle, calf, whatever. And again, all of these other countries don't have to pay for all of that, don't have to go through all that. Now they're going to know, I mean, exactly where's this calf been, exactly what it's been fed, exactly what kind of shots it's been given. And here comes this other beef that doesn't have to pay for all of these expenses, and yet they're going to come in here and get the same price per pound that we're going to get, and we can't even label to say, hey, here's the difference. You're getting this quality versus that quality. They're just mixing it all in and saying it's all the same and all the same prices. And these four big packers are controlling that, buying American beef, shipping it across the sea, getting double their money, bringing in cheap beef and selling it to America at the same price. Now, am I pretty?
Yeah.
Yes. The only part is we are not yet mandatory on calves. That on breeding age animals that go to all breeding age animals that go to market, then the RFD ID it's in place. That has to be done.
And we fought that. We fought.
Yeah. So it's on stockers. It's not on new bred calves. It's not on cows. It's only on.
No, that's wrong. That's backwards.
Okay.
It's on cows. It's on breeding age cattle, but it's not on stockers yet.
Okay.
And we don't want it.
I don't want it, period.
That's the last piece to the puzzle, the vertical integration puzzle that they want us in. That's what they've got to have. They've got to have that mandatory so that they can vertically integrate it, just like pork, just like chicken. But we're a little bit harder to round up. I think because there's so many sectors. We are.
Our
state Ag
Department could say, go kick rocks. And again, people our ag department will try to tell you, the public, oh, we can't tell the USDA to go kick rocks because then we would lose money. Guys, they don't give us no money. We're a $3 billion
Yeah.
industry. We might get a
Wait.
million or so from them. Go tell them to kick rocks. And if we will make a deal that our ag department fights, the cattlemen's fight, Farm Bureau fights,
Amen.
that our own legislative leadership fights, if we would make a deal with Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska,
Right.
all of these beef producing states, that we will recognize your state inspection, which is probably better than the USDA, because if you want to see what the USDA is inspecting right down there on the border, letting everything in that's low standard, they ain't got no standard. They're full of crap. We got a better standard. So let's go with our state. Let's go with Nebraska. Let's go with Montana. Let's recognize them. And then let's set up a compact. We can produce our own beef. We'll start our own packers and we'll sell right here. And then if the rest of America wants it, they can buy it from us, not these other clowns.
And that brings us to the lobbyists. Like that's another problem because you can't break through that lobbying dome. You and I know that
Yeah.
once we
And
bring,
again,
like you
that's
try
what,
to get in something good and they kick it out and they kick it out. And then
and
your ag organizations are
the-
behind the
The
lobbyists.
four big packers got so
So
much
much
money
money.
behind those lobbyists. It's very difficult to
To-
we can't go at them head to head because they have us so outgunned with
They have-
money.
and
Hey,
and they
hey,
got the bucks.
let's put Bobby Cleveland on the spot. Bobby, when you were a legislator, you were taking all that lobbyist money, wasn't
Nope.
you? I can honestly say Bob's one of the guys that did not take lobbyist money. And so
I'm
here's the
sure I
deal.
had lobbyist money somewhere in there, but I didn't go out and search it and try to get it. But hey, I got a question. When I go to the store and buy hamburger meat, I don't remember ever seeing it made in Argentina or made in USA or made in wherever.
That's
You're not
right.
going to see it.
That's
So we
because
don't know where
Obama
it's-
stopped it.
As a consumer, we don't know where it's coming from. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Correct.
so the consumers need to be part of this battle against what they're doing.
But
Because I
Bob,
think you get the consumers aware of what's happening.
Bob, if you went back to 2013-ish, that was on that package. It said American beef. And
Yeah,
then if you went and looked at the economic chart, when they put that package, when they started putting American beef on those packages, what happened to the American production, that price went up for American production. I mean, greatly, to one of the top prices.
Both of them.
Obama come in and said, no, it's not fair to these other countries. We're going to make you take that label off. It's called country of origin labeling. We're going to take that off. Guess what happened? The minute he done that, our prices for American production dropped dramatic. I mean, drop. You can go look on the economic chart, and I've looked this stuff up. You can go look this up. That price dropped dramatically, and now we're back up, but we're still not reporting American versus these other 20 countries that Andy's talking about. So why would
What's happening? What's happening with trying to do that? Are you up against a brick wall?
Bob, we're fighting these lobbyists that
We've been-
Andy's talking about. These lobbyists that
For
the
decades.
public think are out there supporting the industry and that should be supporting the industry are the ones who are actually fighting against having this kind of labeling. And again, that their deal is, well, if you don't do business with these poor packers, then, there ain't nobody else to do business. So they've sold out to them. And again, that's what that's what we're fighting. Am I right about that, Andy?
Yep. And it just, you can't fight them. They're so big. They have so much power, so much money. JBS, Marfrig National, and Cargill, they're all the four big packers. Two of those, JBS and Marfrig, are Brazilian. JBS has been indicted for criminal activity in Brazil. It's just that you can't make this stuff up. And now they were allowed to be on the New York Stock Exchange this past summer. They've been allowed to trade on our New York Stock Exchange. You can't even imagine. You can't fathom what's going on, and the
wolf
public
guarding
doesn't
the
know.
chicken house.
It's the wolf guarding the chicken house.
Well, Bob,
JJ, do you believe that our legislatures really don't know and understand this?
They understand.
I think
It's a
there's
lobbyist.
So much money, they know.
Yeah. Well,
If we know,
here's the
they
thing.
know.
Yes.
I think the majority don't know. I think that the ones that are in ag know it. So those guys who are around this know it. But here's what I think. I think that leadership absolutely knows it. And I think that these lobbyists go in and they give the big money to leadership. And anymore, now leadership controls all the money. And so all the others, if you want to be a chairman, if you want to keep your seat, if you want to get funding for your campaign, if you don't want to draw an opponent, because your own party will go out and find an opponent. If you're somebody like me who stands up against them, and that just started kind of at the tail end of yours, Bob. You know, several of them that got taken out that was conservative like you. I think they actually targeted not maybe leadership, but I think there was some targeting you, possibly leadership. But you got targeted, I believe, also with money. And so again, that's what's happening. If you don't walk what they say, and if you don't do what they say, and it's all about money, and these big, I mean, they're giving 1,000 to the legislators. They're giving 2,000 or 3,000 to the leadership. They're filling their wolf pack up or whatever big pack. They're giving hundreds of thousands, millions to these packs. And again, they're buying them off, and then they go over to the ag department, and the ag department just dances whatever they say. And then you've got it's not one lobbyist doing that, it's multiple lobbyists doing it. And so again, if you come in with a good plan like I had, why would anybody want to shut down compacting with other states? Awesome plan. I mean, not just because I come up with it, it's an awesome plan. And the
Are you going to run it again?
I probably will. If Harriet Hagerman, who's very knowledgeable person and who's in a strategic position up there in Washington, and again, she heard it, she loved it, she went to work on it, and yet here's Oklahoma, our own ag department fought it, our own ag committee wouldn't even allow it to have an interim study, would not even allow it to be heard in committee. And again, who's doing that? I mean, who's not even going to let you have a conversation?
They wouldn't let me have I used to be on all those boards, and they would not let me speak.
Absolutely. So, well, here's the deal, Andy, and first time I think me and you've had several conversations, but when I didn't even want to come to y'all's meeting because they had made y'all out to be like nuts. And crazy and wild folks. And I was just like, hey, I don't want to go where with them crazy people, So I go listen, and man, I was just floored. And so we start having conversations. I start calling, and people don't believe this about me, Bob. You're going to know it about me, but I start. Hey, where's that at? I want to look it up. I want to verify that, and I go pull it up. And I go, my, I'll be darned, So then I go, hey, how about this? And Andy started dumping a lot of stuff on me that I just was dumbfounded, but it didn't take very long that I found out, hey, everything that they'd been hollering about for 10 years I already knew it to be true. And then when I looked at it, I was like, I've been on the wrong team. I've been bumped, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, I got on the right team, and guess what, boy? They've come after me, which is not a problem. But
our ag person, chairman of ag, isn't that a lady that's been there for a long time?
Yeah. So she's been around beef, but she's got show beef. You know what I'm saying? I that's what Andy, you know more about it than me. But she's like high class show beef, and so again, this is kids going to show animals and stuff like that. Totally different market, totally different deal. You're going to buy high dollar cattle, and again, they're all show cattle, and I'm all for kids showing. I think we've got a little too commercialized where now you had to be a pretty rich person to even compete in the show. What used to be for the kids to to have experience in ranching cattle. And now, hey, this is, if you don't spend thousands and thousands of dollars, you ain't nobody in the show business.
Well,
And
they're
so,
not the sector that's fed the world.
right,
The show
right.
cattle aren't the
But
sector.
again,
That's
and we're talking about Blaine Author, so that everybody
yeah.
knows.
And she's my friend, but
Yeah, I like her. Okay,
yeah, we
I'm
butt
not.
heads.
We've had our differences for fact, and I've explained. I don't think I have big issues with the ag department, and I do not think that the ag department is any. Very, very rarely do I say they help the rancher and
The
farmer.
producer.
The
I think
producer.
they regulate us plumb out of business. I think they're in the bed with the big packers, and I don't think they help us at all. And I think
But she's starting to give us recognition. The Oklahoma Independent Stock Growers Association, she's beginning to pay attention to us, and it's taken 9 years. This will be our 9th year, so it's taken a while.
well,
And I think they've
it's
got a
because your
spotlight on.
message. I
They've
think
got-
it's because your message is starting to resonate.
Well, it
and
is.
people out there are seeing
People are
the truth.
coming out, they're seeing it. They don't see it till it affects them. It's kind of like the transmission lines. Nobody wanted to fight it till it was coming over here. And then we ended up getting 400 people at the church. Once people see something, it's far off and they can't see it until it's in their backyard.
Well, hey,
You take the people that live in Oklahoma City and the representatives of Oklahoma City. You take Tulsa, take Cleveland County. They're not interested in that.
No, I know. So that
they're
gives
not
them
until
free
they had
rein
to shell out double the money to get a state. Then they might get concerned about it. So when it comes too high to eat, or when you can't get it. So two things I want to ask you about. Go ahead.
The other thing that'll impact it is if the steak is no good.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
when we get to where that steak's no good,
terrible.
because which is going to happen.
Right. Yeah, you're getting
Yeah.
substandard. Hey, what about the shortage of beef? Now, everybody says there's a shortage. Where y'all at on that? Do we
I
have
don't
a
think
shortage of cows? Are there just bigger
there's-
cows? Do we have the same production with less cattle? Speak to that in just 1 second.
There's all of those things. I mean, we have less cows than we ever had. They're better bred cows, so they produce more meat per head, which is made up of a lot of the slack. And the other thing that's out there that nobody's talking about is the dairy producer is producing an incredible amount of beef. They have fine-tuned their genetics, and so those F1s that they've been feeding since the hutch, they're born and they hutch raise them, and then they go into feedlots, and these large corporate dairies are producing a phenomenal amount of beef, and so even though the cow herd is smaller, there's no American housewives going without hamburger. I mean, and truth of the matter is, if we quit buying foreign beef, still no American housewives would be going without burger.
Let me ask you this. Something we haven't talked about that I think is very impactful is the screwworm and other diseases. Right now, the screwworm is one of the big things. So how big impact does disease from these other countries, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, what's those diseases? Is that going to impact us? Should we be letting stuff in? Is there anything that we should say, no, we still need to hold off?
E. coli is always a factor, as far as in the meat and in the animals themselves, there's no telling. Their regulations are entirely different than ours, and so.
You said the screwworm.
No, the screwworm was that the question. I'm sorry, we had. Yeah, that the screwworm, as far as coming across the border, and it's getting closer every day.
And I think Mexico, they're trying to get Brooke Rollins to open that border, and she said she will not open it till it's pushed further back or they get it under control.
It's within 50 miles or something, the last I heard.
Yeah,
so,
it's getting real close. So the NCBA and that group, I understand, is that they want that back open. And there's even said milk. I don't know. I'm not going to
Yeah,
speak
which
on
is
that. I
also
don't
crazy. It's about money. It
It's
didn't have
about
nothing
money,
to do with
and we
the
don't want it
consumer or
open.
the producer.
But there should be more inspection. Would you not agree that we need to have inspection on the cattle, on the meat coming across these borders to make sure that we don't get in disease that would
Yes.
wipe us out? So if you have, if somebody wanted to attack our food production, would that not be a way to attack us?
It absolutely would, and having more inspection is sounds right. I'm so negative against all imports that way
Yes.
I mean, I don't even know why we're importing it at all, and so it's so hard for me to even get past that to say more inspections is fine, but why don't we just quit bringing it across?
Absolutely.
And I think Shad Sullivan touched on the game, like the wildlife. If this gets closer, there's a lot of big game producers.
The screwworm don't care
Screwworm.
about what animal.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think he said
it
he
can
went to
affect everything.
Yeah,
Well, guys,
he
hey,
said
I
they're
just want to
really
say thank
concerned
you.
about it.
Thank you for coming on, sharing this. I want to also point out this is the quietest Bobby Cleveland has ever been. I don't know.
I'm just
Right,
taking
'cause
it all
you
in.
wouldn't.
And at the end of the day, I just want to tell y'all, hey, I'm running for lieutenant governor. And again, most of the people running for lieutenant governor don't have solutions to all of these problems. Not just, I wanted to bring you guys on today to talk about an issue that a lot of people are not talking about, that the president made it a big deal, and it is a big deal. And while we caught that way to show people what's going on, but I want to talk about solutions, because most of your politicians only gripe about the problem. They have no solutions. So what we talked about today, we talked about the solutions. So one, fairness in trade, that we get to label, and we get to tell you where your beef is coming from. Two, we're going to reduce regulation. That's a big deal in every industry, is get the foot of the government off the neck of the producer. Again, we talked about that labeling. We got to get that in there. We got to cut out the middleman. That's where all the money's going to. That's where it's not going to the producer. The middleman is controlling the market, and we got to cut the middleman. And we have ways to do that by making this compact. We talked about how to do all that. We can get that done, no problem. You just need people in leadership. That's why I'm wanting in leadership, is to actually begin to put in these solutions, bring people up like these two guys that actually know what we're talking about to get this done. And then again, we need grants, not these that build duck reserves and take land away from the producers. We need grants that help establish and build up herds, cattle herds, cow-calf operations, and build back those numbers that we've lost and make it to where
and create a economy within our rural communities, because our rural communities were built on beef, on cattle. And if we take that away, you're going to lose your hospitals, your schools, everything dies.
And I've got suggestions for those. But again, guys, today, hey, I appreciate you guys coming on.
For having us.
Yes. Did you want to say something?
I just said thank you.
You know, I do, as you're building this, you also have to think about the young producers. If we can make a better market, so we're losing young producers every day in this.
And that's why I want to talk about those grants to attract that young. You know, again, we're seeing them go into other businesses because it's just hard. It's impossible to make a living, to buy the land, buy the tractors, buy the equipment, buy the cattle. You can't make it. If you have to do all that, you can't make it. So we need to find a way to put the grants to get them established where they've got some land paid, where they've got some cattle paid that can help them out to do all this. Guys, we're out of time. Love y'all very
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate y'all so much.
I hope you're
And
not
we're gonna call it a
confused,
wrap.
Mahi.
What's
I
No,
hope
All
you're
right,
not
y'all have a
really.
I
blessed
learned
day.
We
something. I
didn't
didn't have
confuse
no
you.
idea.